Hello, CFL and BC Lions fans. This is Three Down Bros, coming to you after some big changes in the Lions organizational structure. Rick Campbell has been let go as co-GM and head coach. We have Neil McAvoy being promoted to the vice president of football operations, and we have Ron Rigmaiden promoted to GM. And now we're going to kick it around. Lots of little things, a lot of little nuggets of information that we're going to kick around. But we'll start with Greg's high-level thoughts. Your first reaction, Greg. You were away when this news broke.
Oh, I got the news. Trust me, I got the news.
You got the news.
Oh, yeah.
So what did you think?
Well,
first three words that came out of your mouth.
I can't repeat that on air. No, the first three words were, it's about time. And my high-level thought is, it's about time a decision was made. Whether it was Campbell let go or anybody let go. As you can see, I've got my administrative shirt on here today, my GM coaching look, just to kind of talk about this today. High-level thoughts are, it's about time that a move was made, and I am holding my breath because this organization now under the Doman ownership, to me, is at a crossroads, and these decisions, head coach, player personnel coming in, players let go, whatever it held on to, these decisions are of the utmost critical type of decision. Like this is going to determine where this franchise is going to go for the next few years. And I am just right now with Ryan Ringmaiden as GM, because that's the most permanent change announced right now. The most definite change, sorry. I'm holding my breath. I wasn't sold on him as a talent scout when he was here the first time, and now he's back after time in Winnipeg and other leagues. Holding my breath on him. And again, it is critical who they pick as the next head coach. What about you, Ro?
Yeah. So actually, before I give my thoughts, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us tonight. If you're on the online with us, please feel free to put your comments on the chat. As usual, we'd love to be able to banter with you and hear your thoughts, whether you agree or disagree, or if you have other thoughts aside from what we've talked about. But yeah, my initial thoughts. So when I heard, when I first heard the news, it's the same as Greg. Yeah, it's about time. I think we needed to clean house, and it started at Campbell had to be accountable for how we regressed this year. But the following day with the interviews and they talked about what Amara felt about how this season went. I was thinking, yeah, that's exactly what we've been saying. We needed to be tough. We were not tough. We were a finesse team. We needed to be a smash mouth type of a team, especially in going into the fall, into the playoffs, and that didn't happen. So yeah, this I said it was about time, but then another part of me was saying, was now kind of nervous. Who's going to be our next head coach? I'm hoping that we would make the right decision, and so we'll talk about that tonight. So I'm glad that yeah,
we will.
I think we three down bros have made a decision. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe we've got a comment from Ashi. Love your work and appreciate all the Lions content, boys. Thank you very much, Ashi.
Thanks,
Nice.
Ashi. Appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you joining us tonight. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Oh yeah, it is a guitar. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, love to hear your thoughts as we go along. Please chime in at any point, and we'll be able to banter with you. So yeah, okay. I guess Arthur, you're kind of emceeing tonight. What do you want us to talk about first?
Well, yeah. Let's just talk about from the owner's point of view, right?
Yeah.
So Amar Doman basically said, "Hey, you guys, I want a winner. And I'm willing to spend," and he overspent into the luxury tax.
Yes.
That luxury tax, right? He's been putting money where his mouth is in terms of getting the hype into like this local arena, right? In terms of this area, general area, in terms of getting the young kids involved, having like these nice concerts to kick off the season. and he needed the football operations to step up because on the business end, he's been really pushing it, right?
I mean, more than expected, right?
More than expected.
I mean, he was recognized with the award at Grey Cup time. He got his efforts rewarded at least with that league award. But that's about all.
Yeah.
So so that's the good context. So he, his proxy is Dwayne Vigneault, the president of BC Lions. So Dwayne said the football ops were given everything they asked for.
Yeah.
Right? You need us to spend a bit more money for Nathan Rourke and Matthew Betts? Done.
Yeah.
So they thought, well,
actually, not just a bit more money.
A lot more.
It's like a lot more money,
yeah.
plus the penalties on top of that,
yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a few $100,000. You'll be out.
Yeah.
So according to the owner and the president, they were given everything they needed to win, and they fell way short. Way short, right, Greg? I mean, they weren't close. They weren't really close in the semifinal, right?
No, I was calling one and done. If they made it, which they did, I said they're not getting past that. We saw the way they were playing, the way things were trending. I mean,
and I think the kicker was we regressed from the last 2 years.
Oh, huge regression.
So I think had we not regressed, had we maybe improved a little bit, had we made it to the Western final, maybe Rick Campbell might still be here. But the fact that we regressed, I mean,
we've made it to the Western final the previous 2 years and just slammed up against the Winnipeg wall, right? So
true, but the fact that we regressed, it was a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, to me, we needed to at least make the dance in our own house, whether we wanted it or not. We needed to be there.
Yeah.
Minimum for Campbell to keep his job, I think.
So all right, that's good. So let's follow that up. So the owner says, "Hey, I've given you guys everything. You regressed. Someone had to pay the price, right?"
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So was this enough, in your opinion, you guys? Was this enough of a price to be paid?
That's a good question.
Greg's gonna come. I know Greg's coming.
Okay, I'll go first, and then we'll let Greg. I don't think it's enough, but I don't think we're done yet. Because I think once we have the new head coach come in, there might be a little bit more house cleaning to do. Personally, I think that I love RP, but I think he's also regressed. Our defense was the weakest point, the weakest part of the team this year.
Of all three units, agreed.
So there needs to be some house cleaning there as well. What makes me nervous about Rick Maiden is that he was in charge of personnel, and we've talked about this over this season that we weren't balanced. We had some really strong positions, but our O-line is like the worst of all 9 teams, right? Mm-hmm. So personnel wise, we were lacking there too. So. Those are my initial thoughts. Anyway, Greg, I know you have lots of thoughts.
Well, it's a 9-hour flight back, man, and I was like, I cannot wait till Sunday. Like I said, the most definite decision so far is Ring Maiden GM. Not sure. I'm holding my breath on that. But was Rick Campbell, to answer the question? No, it wasn't a big enough price, but it's the only price that can be paid right now. Because again, like you said, Roland, the new coach coming in, whoever that is, and that again, I'll repeat, is an absolute critical decision that determines your coordinators, assistant coaches, all of that stuff. Right now, what do they call it? Dead men walking. RP and Maximic are just kind of flapping in the wind right now to see what's going to happen. But I will say this: they better not. I mean, I've seen it in all the articles, all the video that I watched on the plane coming back. That front runner is Buck Pierce and Jordan McSimic. I have no clue why McSimic's even in that conversation. If he can't call a good game plan, right, and he's being stubborn, how on earth is he going to be a head coach? If he can't make adjustments during a game as a coordinator, how on earth is he going to make it as a coach? But was Rick no, not enough price, but it's the only price that can be paid at this point into the juncture. But there has to be more done. Like I agree with Bro.
I mean, in terms of McSimic, he is interviewing with other teams now, so I'm not
Good.
too concerned.
Good for him.
Yeah.
Good for him.
But there's you want to read the comment, Arthur?
Yeah, yeah. So the actually again, the O line has been problematic for so long, going back to Riley, constantly on his back.
Yep. With the O-line standing over him, looking like, what happened? Why
Head
are you
coach
laying
Buck
down there?
Pierce thoughts. I mean, you know what? Let's move. I mean, we'll talk about the head coach Buck Pierce later on in our segment. We'll still talk about changes and that. We'll get in specific candidates in a bit. So we're gonna take a rain check on responding to that, but we'll definitely get back to that because there's other key things I want to talk about, and we will go into a specific potential head coach.
Yeah, there's a lot being considered, right?
There's a lot being considered. Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah.
This is lovely. Love this guy. Love this stuff. Love this issue.
I mean, yeah. So the head coach will be decided, and then the coordinators will change. And I just want to add one thing: I think there's a lack of experienced offensive coordinators in the CFL. So that's why Pierce and McSimic are kind of interviewing with other places because they know. I think teams know if they move on, you got to replace an OC, and replacing an OC seems to be tough for whatever reason. If you get an inexperienced OC, then well, you're learning, and then there's going to be growing pain. So I definitely see what your point is about McSimic and BC. I mean, the danger is if he is our head coach, he's probably going to keep the rest of the coordinators the same, and then just maybe promote from within or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, Habs for life. Good evening.
Hey.
Just
Good evening,
joining
Habs
now.
for life. Nice to see
Hello,
you again.
Habs for life. Good for coming in. Appreciate you.
So, I mean,
yes.
I definitely don't want McSimic because we're just rehashing the same old stuff. And, you know, we had our biggest complaints was against the defensive coordinator. But the offensive calling was so predictable this whole year. I know there's a lot of people that think highly of McSimic, but and you know he did bring out the best in Rourke a couple years ago. But this year, you know, the play calling was the whole season was pretty bad. So I'm not sure how that's going to translate to a head coach. Yeah.
Yeah, because of that 6-game mark when Calgary figured out how to shut us down offensively, we never got that offensive mojo back.
Yeah.
We had all the receivers. We had Hatcher coming. Anyway, I'm not going there. I'll just let wherever.
Okay, the next point is Rick Maiden said, "I make the final decision on who's on the roster."
You mean like this year or going forward?
Going forward.
Okay.
Going forward as the new GM, sole GM, McAvoy's just as a consultant and someone he's going to work with, maybe on the back end, the cap and things like that. But Rick Maiden's going to make the final call. The head coach has input, but it's Rick Maiden making the call. Okay, Greg, what? I know I'm setting you up. What do you think about that comment? Now, he is solely in charge of that final call.
Let's read Assie's comments first. He says, "Agreed. Don't want our OC as head coach. Far too predictable and combined with Campbell and his inability to make adjustments. Season spiraled and never recovered." Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead, Greg.
Well, going back to that, I don't know if we addressed that. Did you want to touch on, the owner said he gave us everything. He gave them everything we asked for.
Yeah.
That's why I'm holding my breath on Ring Maiden. And again, I'm going to try to tie these 2 points together with him also having the final personnel decision. Did they ask for the right things? They got everything they asked for. But I started to think when they started not ever getting that offensive mojo back, again, I'm a defensive guy more so, and having RP talk about an aggressive, dictating, fast defense. The players,
We saw it in one game. We saw that in one game.
But the players they asked for, right? Everything they asked for. and everything, and they got it. But were they asking for round pegs that they were trying, or square pegs that they were trying to fit into a round hole? Right? They wanted a more balanced offense. Yet, what did they get? More finesse receivers. They got Rourke back, but they didn't get an offensive line that could smash the opponent's D line in the mouth to open up the run game to balance the offense. So, you know, and they got all these great DBs, but again, weak in coverage, horrible in tackling. Oh, well, okay, average to fair to average in tackling. They got a safety that I wanted to be able, you know, you want that downhill safety that just punishes anybody coming over the middle. What were most of the pass completions done by the opponents? Over the middle, crossing routes, sitting in that little soft zone in front of the linebacker, whatever it was. We had nothing to punish anybody. So if Ring Maiden's picking those people as just a scout, again, that's why I'm holding my breath. If he's got the final decision on personnel, these guys better pick the right head coach, and they better be on the same page for the sake of Amar Doman, that they're picking the right players to play the style of football that they need to play. Not that they want to play, that they need to play to succeed in this 19 league. All the jokes aside, Arthur, they know what kind of football has to, they know what kind of football has to be played from September forward, October forward.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
They said all the right things. They went out and got stand back, a good north-south runner. But if he's getting first contact 8 yards into our own backfield, I don't care how good a north-south runner you are, you're not getting positive yardage. So if Ring Maiden's the guy, okay, he's gone BC, Winnipeg, Arena League, BC, or whatever, BC, Arena League, Winnipeg, BC. Because I know he was in the Spokane Arena League for a bit with Spokane. He better figure out how to pick players properly. And I'll make, you know, that's the Canucks problem for the years and years and years, was the scouting. You're picking the wrong players for the system you're playing.
Now, the one thing,
get it right.
The one thing that he said that I really like, so I agree with you completely. I mean, he was a big part of the of picking our personnel. But the one thing he said that I really like was that he focused on toughness. He said that moving forward, our team needs to be tough.
And he recognizes
not just physically, but mentally. So physically tough, hitting hard, like what we talked about, closing fast, hitting hard, smashing down the opponent's throats. So that's physical toughness. And then mentally tough, where you're able to handle adversity.
Right. If
Those
the
were
opponent smashes you back.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Those were two big things that we kept talking about this season. We didn't know how to handle adversity. One thing, you know, say everything we want about Winnipeg, but you know, for the last few years, they knew how to handle adversity, except maybe for the Grey Cup.
But Toronto did.
Just 3 games the last 3 years.
Right? Toronto's defense kept them in it. Toronto's defense got the momentum for them, and then they won that Grey Cup running away. Right?
Yeah.
It was the defense that forced Caleros to get hurt, whatever it is. That was pure aggression, wire-to-wire aggression.
Exactly.
And they dictated that game.
So Toronto demonstrated that clearly in the Grey Cup. But in general, if we look at Winnipeg, like in their regular season games, they can be behind, but they don't panic. They know how to handle adversity.
Take this season, for instance. They were 0 whatever.
Yeah.
And they said, you know what? We're deciding first place or nothing. And that from that point on, no, they weren't stoppable. No one could stop them.
So you know, let's say what we want about Winnipeg, but they're kind of like the standard on the West.
Yep.
And if we can be physically tough and mentally tough, then I think that's the way to dethrone them. That's the only way.
Well, that game that was here when Rhymes should have gone down for that field goal. We were leading that game, and Winnipeg just kept punching and punching, little bit by little bit, coming back. Hamilton did it to us this year, forced it to overtime, and we lost.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden we start to panic because, oh my gosh, we had a lead. What happened? Right? We don't have a unit that can get that momentum back.
All right, guys. So we talk about toughness. We were talking about fundamentals. You guys have both been talking about fundamentals in the last, like for the Lions.
Yeah.
We talk about poor tackling, you know, penalties. Yep. Greg's always saying is, you know the count, you know the play. You gotta, you know, you're third and short or second and short. You should be able to push the line. You got a yard off the ball. Defense yard off the ball. We should be like pushing. We should be punishing in those situations. So
we should be a half a second ahead because we know the snap count, right?
All right. So this is, as I'm going to ask this question. So the lack of toughness and the lack of fundamental football being played, like tackling and catching, and we talked about how Holland's catches versus how other guys catch, right?
Yeah.
Is it player procurement? Is it coaching? Or is it scheme? What percentages do you put on each? Because fundamentals, that should be coaching, right?
Yeah. I say it's primarily coaching. Maybe so I would say
Is it the wrong player? Like the wrong type of play? That's procurement, right? Coaching, like you said, they're there, but they just don't didn't execute the fundamentals properly, or the poor scheme. You got the right player, but for the wrong scheme
Square peg, round hole kind of
yeah,
thing, right?
something. So yeah, so that's the context.
I would say
Go ahead, Roland.
80% coaching.
Wow, 80% coaching.
Yeah, 80% coaching, 10%, and I'll defend it. 80% coaching, 10% player, and 10% scheming. And I'll tell you why. These are professional players. They've been playing since they were kids.
Yeah.
Right? The fundamentals have been drilled into them. Fundamentals like tackling, fundamentals like hitting hard, stripping the ball. That's all in one move. You make the tackle, your head is in the right place, your head hits the ball. So all that is fundamentals. Scheming, we, on the defense, RP said that he's holding all the DBs back. But once you see the ball in the air, you start closing in. You don't wait until the guy catches the ball before you start closing in, which we've seen so many times, right? So that scheming plays 10%, player plays 10%. It's the coaching. If the coach rallies up the troops and say, "Hey, we got to be physical. We got to be tough. I know you're hurting, but you got to give it the extra 10%." That's that. So that to me is the big thing. And so, if Rick Maiden saw that as the weakness, and if Amar saw that as the big weakness, and Campbell was let go because of that, that makes a lot of sense. Campbell, we didn't see any of that. Right?
Okay, quick redirect, Roland.
Yeah.
Coaching, head coaching level, coordinator level, or sub coordinator level? At what level is responsible for teaching or coaching the fundamentals?
Well, I mean, strictly speaking, all of them, but at the very end, the head coach is ultimately accountable. So if the coordinators aren't drilling it, then it's up to the head coach. Hey, we need you to start drilling this. Right. So wherever
I've seen like so many busted tackles to this game and again when
yeah. I mean, we are not professional coaches, but all three of us saw it the whole season. So so
Far
yeah.
from it.
All right, Greg, same
Sir.
question. Procurement, coaching, scheme.
Okay, so coaching, we're talking fundamental discipline, right? Like
Fundamental discipline, yeah.
Okay, again, I 1000% agree with Roland. Fundamental discipline should be in these players' DNA because again, they've been playing since God was a child, and you know what? That fundamental discipline, that I'm going to redirect that to it. That's accountability, right? If these players, they should already know how to tackle, already know how to come off the ball, already know how to all that kind of stuff. That is. And I'm going to go probably 70% coaching. And is it the head coach? Yes, because during practice, you're in your units. That is the coordinator's job right there to hold them accountable to the discipline, to the execution, right? This is our scheme. These are the players that we picked. These are the ones that made the roster in training camp. If these are the wrong players that are not right for the scheme, that's, again, coaching and player. What were your three? The discipline, the personnel, and the
scheme, yeah. So scheme, coaching, or the procurement.
Procurement. So that's on the. If you got the wrong guy, go get the next guy. If they're not doing it, but yes, it all comes down to the head coach holding everybody accountable. So I'm going to go 70, 15, 15. Right? Because again, you went and got the players. If they're not doing the job, that's up to the coaches to get them out, bring the next guy in.
Yeah, good
right?
point.
If they're not being fundamentally disciplined because they can't figure out, we're on 2 and you keep going on 4. How long are you going to stick around? On a high school team, you don't even stick around that long if you can't get the snap count right. These are professional players that get paid to do this. And the scheme, if the scheme's not working, again, that's going to come down to the head coach holding his coordinators accountable. Like, okay, these are the players we got. These are the ones that are signed. We don't have time to get other players. Figure out a scheme that gets these players to work. I am not a hockey guy, but for years I said the players that the Canucks have on the roster can't play this way. Figure out a different way to get them to play because these are the players you got. Well, that's up to the head coach and the coordinators to figure out a scheme. If they can't execute the scheme you've got, change the scheme because it's a lot easier to change the scheme than change a bunch of roster to get chemistry back.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Arthur? What do you think?
Yeah.
I think it's more in I'd say, you know, like I agree in concept. I think there's more responsibility for the procurement. You know, I think you guys have known I've been saying that is I look at the receivers, I look at the like this the receivers and the DBs on the other teams, right? I think that the other teams they've brought in more impactful rookies on both those units, right? I'm not don't even get me started on the lines, on the O line and D line, right? But just like with receivers, it's very easy to see whether they can run a route, they can try to block, or catch, right? And like just don't screw up. Are you running lazy or not, right? And I think there are a number of management decisions. Maybe they should have zigged and versus zagging, you know, like. I mean, it's easy to say hindsight is 2020 now after the season. You know, maybe they should have not brought in certain players. They indicated it's like some DBs were going to be like all-stars. They're going to do very well, like Rene and Green. I think that's what RP mentioned. They were not that. They were not that. Yeah, they let Sales go, became an all-star, mind your own corner. I don't know how you would do here in on our scheme, but obviously within Saskatchewan scheme, he played better than anyone expected. So I give a bit more on the procurement on the player personnel. So that's Rick Mannon's responsibility. Of course, the head coach. I agree with Rick Mannon. The head coach sets the mood and the kind of aggressiveness of the team because he's kind of the leader of the team.
Yeah,
I think Rick Campbell had last say on who didn't make or made the team. Ultimately was on him. Yeah. So definitely he had to be accountable. But I think that we need guys, pro scouts who are better. American scouting. And our Canadian scouting, okay, fine. We drafted Nathan Rourke.
Good. We got Matthew Betts, you know.
Well, no, like Canadian scouting, like amateur scouting. So Betts we got after he spent a couple of years in Edmonton. True. So just like out of the Canadian amateur draft.
You're talking like guys
college
like
draft.
Pickett and Varga, like they were pulling.
Yeah. So I mean, okay. I mean, they got Nathan Rourke second round. Do they need? I think they need to get better. I think the other teams' drafting has been better from the Canadian players, and then just getting American players. I think we're lagging. We're lagging in all sorts of things. I think. Yeah. So I would just give that a little bit more than you guys, but I still think yes, coaching overall. We have to have some changes. Yeah. All right.
Yeah.
So moving on, did you guys?
Can I add just a very quick? I agree with you. Just a quick little counter argument. The fact that we brought these people in, you know, means that we saw something in these players, right? We saw something that stood out, that made us get them in. So my counter is that these are highly skilled players. But if they come into a culture where toughness is not emphasized, and finesse is more emphasized, or in the case of some of our DBs, I think it was our RP said, right. He said openly, he got our DBs to keep the receivers in front of them, because he didn't have confidence in them, or something to that effect, right? And that's gonna reduce your morale if you're a DB, My defensive coordinator doesn't trust that I can make the play. Yeah, maybe I've missed a few, but what does O'Shea do? In his latest interview this week, he said, I'm going to put my players in a position where I'm going to allow them to, to rise up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you have that type of a coach who instills that type of a, confidence, 9 times out of 10, the players will rise up, right? I mean, it didn't happen in the Grey Cup, but for Winnipeg,
I'm fine with.
but that's that's coaching culture, right? That's coaching attitude. Okay, so that's all I wanted to say.
All right. So thanks for that, Ro. So okay, one key attempt in this prior off season, BC was rumored to be going in big time on Brady Oliveira, right? Offering quite a bit more
Yeah.
than what Winnipeg did.
Yeah.
So, and then they ultimately brought in Stanback,
Yes.
probably about half the price as what the Lions were trying to get Oliveira to come in for. Now, whether the Lions were really, truly trying to get Oliveira or they're just
Bidding it up.
bidding it up, it's hard to say.
Yeah.
But this is for me where it's problematic. You're going to bring in Brady Oliveira or you bring in Stanback, but you don't change your O-line hardly any. So like, are you just like? Remember we talked to Andrew Pearson. He goes, "Hey, that's good. I'm good. I want to hit people versus always being pass protection. I want to be run blocking." But then, we didn't see we didn't see it enough. Let's just say it. We didn't see enough. Not say it wasn't there, but what did you guys think on the run? The aggressiveness on the run offense, the rushing offense, was it aggressive?
Nope.
Like, you change the running back, does that automatically make you a rough and tough running team?
Yeah, there was no aggressiveness. I mean, there's no aggressiveness around all around in the whole team, but especially in the running play where you really have to be aggressive. We saw one game where against Montreal, when Stanback, it was payback time, and he was getting massive yards, but that was on him, right?
He was going through 5 people by himself.
Yeah,
right?
that was on him. But the guys,
Why couldn't he do that in other games?
But it's not just the guys in front of him. It's not just the 5 O-line. Receivers need to block too. All right, a good running team, has receivers blocking the downfield, right? So again, it goes down to the toughness culture, I think.
All right.
If I could go back to your question though, Oliveira Stanback.
Yes.
Oliveira, was his contract up when they were trying to get him?
Oh yeah, he was a free agent in the
But
past.
Stanback was released, correct?
I think they were. Well, I guess technically both free agents at the time.
Yeah, but I mean, you're Oliveira. You look where you are. You look where you're going to. Like if the Lions were serious, all he had to do was look at the O-line and the receivers, right? Like Roland said, I go to BC, I'm going to die. I'm going to be killed. I'm not going to get. He's got the chemistry and everything already with Winnipeg. But like I said earlier, you don't. Other than again Stanback's game against Montreal, which I asked always, like, okay, if you've got that, it's payback time. You've got that chip on your shoulder against Montreal to show them that they shouldn't have let you go or whatever it is. Why can't you have that chip on your shoulder for every game of the year? Right? The O-line maybe, right? Did the O-line block better for him because it was payback time in Montreal, or did they block the same all across like every game? Right? But no, how many times did we see our first contact on Stanback, who was, God forbid if they kept the little backs they had before him, and he's getting first contact 8 yards the wrong way, right? We never saw them far off the ball. We never saw any opponent's defensive lineman on their back, on their heels, 5, 6, 7 yards off the line of scrimmage, did we? Ever. Even the Montreal game, I don't think they were driving them back.
I mean, he made a lot of those yards by himself. I mean, he did get help from the O-line.
Yeah.
But there was like a few runs. He put it on himself to prove a message, right? Send a message.
Yeah, because he's like first contact in the back, our own backfield. He's having to make a move on a guy in our own backfield. when they're sending only 3-4-man pressure, right? You weren't stacking the box. You don't have to stack the box against the Lions run game. No need. And opponents knew that. So no, to answer your question, we didn't see it enough at all.
All right.
Changing the running back does the marketing department good because they did say we need to get bigger and meaner. That's what the fans want. Well, you changed the running back, but you didn't change the necessary components to, like you said, Arthur, the rest. You got.
Well, that's more of a schematic thing, right? You just need you need more than just a running back to affect change in your running game, right?
Yep.
You do need the complementary pieces on offense to execute it really
Yeah.
good.
One thing I must say, though, I just wanted to go a little bit of a tangent. If we rewind time and Andrew Harris was younger, I think he would have made a difference. Because one thing that we know Andrew Harris did was he was able to fire up the O-line. Whichever O-line he worked with, whether it was ours, whether it was with Winnipeg or with Toronto, he took it upon himself to to be with them, to go out and feed them, and to really motivate them, and we saw the results. Whatever team he
did
went
with the
to.
O-line, like what VA does with receivers, he did with the O-line, and that was the beginning of his downfalls when we brought that coach in here and who forbid him to go into O-line meetings anymore. That was the beginning of the end for Andrew Harris.
Yeah. So
In BC.
Yeah,
in BC,
yeah.
in BC,
yeah,
yes.
because he went, like Roland said, out of his way to forge that relationship, and that goes deeper than just execution.
Yeah.
That now you are fighting for the guy beside you. You're fighting for your brother.
Exactly.
Right? Because they had that.
Yeah.
But
All right. So, anything else before we start talking about potential head coaching candidates? And we kind of kicked it around a little bit, but Roland, you have something?
No, I think I was just going to say that I think everyone's waiting for this
This segment.
this segment.
So,
yeah.
what are we? All right. What do we start with? Buck or Jordan McSimic?
Well, maybe let's list
multiple choice elimination.
let's list who are the possibilities, and
All right.
then
All right. Buck Pierce, probably the odds-on favorite. Jordan McSimic
Whoa! Odds-on favorite for us to ask, or odds-on favorite to fill the position?
become the
okay.
Lions head coach.
All right.
That's in my opinion.
Okay.
In my opinion.
so House for Life's waiting for this segment.
All right. So McSimic, Killam, which is the special teams coordinator and assistant head coach formerly of the Calgary Stampeders. They asked for and got permission to interview Mark Mueller, which is the Saskatchewan Roughriders OC.
Isn't it? Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, Saskatchewan. Correct.
He went back and forth.
19.
So yeah, and then I think RP might be interviewed. Other guys that were potentially like they might interview might be Mark Washington, but that's pretty much it. Unless there's someone else that I haven't seen. I'm scouring candidates, and I think that's the list of candidates.
All right. There's a question from Habs for Life. Wouldn't Buck be the OC? Why keep Jordan Mack if Buck is intended coach?
Well, yeah, because that was Rick Campbell was called a lot of the defensive plays when he first got here because he's a defensive type coach. That's a good question.
So it's like musical chairs, right?
Yeah.
So
there's-
like
A comment from Cumin. Buck also got fired this week, or almost, almost.
no, I mean they asked O'Shea and they said, "Well, you'd fire Buck if he doesn't get hard." And what did he say? 3 words: "Not a chance." So Buck is not. Well, who knows?
But he is interviewing with us, so
He's interviewing with us. McSimic is interviewing with Edmonton. Rick Campbell's interviewing with Edmonton. Most probably, Rick Campbell will land as head coach of the Elks.
they can't be both interviewing for the same position, right? I would assume.
Well, no, I mean Edmonton asked for permission for McSimic first, and then they did ask for permission for Rick Campbell.
But what I mean is, they can't both be interviewing for head coach there. It'll be Rick Campbell and then Jordan as his OC.
Well,
right?
I think maybe. Well, I think they said they're both interviewing. I mean, McSimic is under contract until December, so they're just getting a head start, right? So I mean, the Lions can't really do anything about it, right?
Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah. But I mean, I think like I think what I've been reading is there's a premium on experienced OCs, and if they become your coach, at least that experienced OC can kind of mentor a younger OC up versus hire a defensive minded coach.
All right.
Yeah, so that's just something to consider.
So,
Okay,
so
let's just-
your point is it's better to hire an OC as a head coach than a DC as a head coach.
Right now, the way it is, I think there's just a lack of really good offensive minds in the CFL.
Yeah.
And you can tell when the Lions are cooking, when the QB is playing at an MOP level, it's very devastating. The aerial attack is very devastating, mixing in a little stand back here and there, right?
Yes.
When the Lions were cooking and the Lions were winning, those games they won, they played well, and the O-line provided decent amount of protection.
Yeah.
There was the Lions offense was dynamic.
Yeah.
Right, Roland? Like VA was awesome.
That was our biggest strength at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
Was our offense. Yeah.
So
we
as
got figured
a
out.
team that struggles offensively, you got to look at McSimic and you're like, okay, well maybe we don't have the same quarterback or the receivers, but we want that offensive mind, right? Because then if they went through the whole year, they don't have anything like that.
Yeah.
Like a vertical offense, then they're gonna want that. So, okay, let's just start with Buck Pierce first. Oh, well, no.
Okay.
We'll start with McSimic first. We'll start with
All right.
McSimic first because he is, and I think I can elicit a bigger response out of you two guys for Jordan McSimic. So, Greg, your thoughts on Jordan McSimic as potentially the next BC Lions head coach?
Throw that out the window. Toss it, file it in the round file, whatever you want. Deep six it. Not okay. Yeah, I'm going to quote Mike O'Shea. As much as I dislike him, not a chance.
There you go.
Because again, if Ring Maiden has the final say on personnel, if Rick Maiden is 100% serious about being tough, if Ring Maiden is the guy, then you can't. There is no way it doesn't work because accountability, the scheme didn't adjust. How can he can't hold himself accountable to head, whatever. Toughness, his scheme does not promote toughness. And if he's not willing to adjust during the game, he's not going to have a room. He doesn't command a presence. The culture that we need, if it's toughness, he is not a guy that's going to put toughness into our dressing room. He's not a guy that's going to promote enough toughness from top down, bottom up. So no, that is my high level thought. No.
Yeah. Okay. There's a
I came up with over Greenland summer flying home. No.
Okay, all right.
there's a comment from a Q-man. If you're hiring RP who is OC, that's the issue. All the OCs will have jobs already.
I don't think it's gonna be RP. I'm not even really.
Again,
yeah.
Can I? Oh wait, we're not. We're only doing McSimic right now. We're going.
I
down
mean,
the
you
list,
can
right?
chime in, Greg. Come on, chime in. Come on.
Okay,
chime in.
say, you know what? As much as I love 21 when he played as a head coach, nope. These guys. I don't even want these guys staying as coordinators. Time to move on, because
Wow.
again, you've got he dictated fast, aggressive, defense, dictating D. We didn't have that anywhere on the line in the secondary. Is nothing.
Yeah.
And again, RP has that. I think he's too much of a player's coach, right? He dances with the players when they do something well. When the adversity's there, how many times do we comment at a home game? You see him kind of standing there looking frustrated, looking dejected, looking confused, not firing up that team, not berating a guy for missing a tackle, not calling him out, just kind of looking like he's lost control. And that you cannot have as a head coach moving forward if this organization is to turn the page and be in the conversation as a Grey Cup contender. Or this team doesn't need to be in the conversation. This team needs to continually be the winners of the West and in the Grey Cup. I'm not going as far as winning it yet. So either of our coordinators, no.
You want them actually not even with the organization
Right.
in their current role.
Yeah,
Okay.
all respect to them. They've done what they can here. I firmly believe they cannot do any more here.
All right.
Nope,
So
nope, nope,
Q-Man
nope,
says
nope.
OC head coach will probably keep RPSDC. So yeah, Greg is saying he doesn't even want to keep RPSDC. Has for Life says, I agree. I want clean house to rebuild that defense starting with all new coaches. Yeah. So
Right? How many poor tackles did we see? And if RP's still the guy, we're going to see poor tackling. If he can't. Anyway, you got my thoughts. Nope.
Yeah,
No.
No.
yeah.
All right, Roland.
Nope.
Yeah, I agree. The biggest thing with RP, I mean, like I said, I loved him as a player. I loved him as a coach initially too. But the last couple of years, our defense was the weakest.
And it's going back. It's regressing.
Yeah, it's regressing. So in the same way that Rick Campbell needs to be accountable, I think RP needs to be accountable too. And he might do well in another team. Maybe there's a reset, right? Sometimes you just need a reset. But yeah, ideally for me, we get a new head coach who brings in a different defensive coordinator.
I think
one question to you guys. One question.
Mm.
Did you fear our D?
No.
If you were an opponent across it, did you fear our defense?
No, it was so easy to go against their defense. Just throw 5-6 yards and then run another 2-3, right? So it was so easy.
Yeah, as a head coach, if RP or McSimic was a head coach, would you fear this team? No.
You know how to shut it down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, think about it. If Ring Maiden's got the final say on players, but you keep any of these coordinators, either of them as a head coach, we need these players. Or is Rig Maiden saying, no, these are the players I'm giving you. Figure out how to make these players to the best of their ability. They couldn't with the players they got this time. What makes you think they're going to do it with the next bunch that Ring Maiden brings in that he's got final say?
All right, Roland, read that comment.
Q-Man says, Buck Pierce and Richie Hall won't be better than Jordan McSimic and Ryan Phillips.
Well, we've seen Richie Hall be a head coach once or twice, and he failed miserably.
No, these are offensive and defensive.
Oh, we're
coordinators
talking
as-
keeping
yeah.
them as OC and DC.
I mean, I think that's the comparison.
Yeah.
if I'm
Okay.
Looking at it.
Yeah. So
I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, you switch the teams.
Maybe these guys need, maybe Buck Pierce and Richie Hall need a change of scenery too, a reset.
You switch the teams on the coordinators. Which nets out ahead?
Well, where's Richie Hall? Is Richie Hall the Winnipeg defensive coordinator?
Jordan Younger took
Yeah, it was
over
Jordan-
as the DC, so Richie Hall's kind of like probably there's a succession plan happening.
Yeah, because I think Richie Hall, the game has passed Richie Hall by.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going on. Is they wanted some newer ideas, so that's why Younger took it over. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see. It's hard to say, right? Like, which one will be better? I mean, because the team, Winnipeg has a better team, right? And they play a more physical bully ball style, of game that wins in the playoffs.
yeah.
You know, in the winter. So, yeah.
Q-Man says that's your option. I guess Q-Man is saying that we don't have too many options in terms of the coordinators.
Well,
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that takes care of McSimic. That was
So
the first one.
so Buck Pierce as a
Okay,
potential
let's
next.
talk about him.
All right, Roland, you first. I'm Mr.
first.
Buck Pierce.
So right after the Grey Cup, my initial feeling was, forget it. Right? Because Winnipeg just threw away their opportunity. Like, they had...
They threw it away. Passed it away, whatever you wanna call it.
They had such a dominant game against Saskatchewan. And then Chad Kelly gets injured. It's like, it's a no-brainer. They're going to win. That's what I said, right?
I think it's 10-point favorites.
So,
Minimum.
and then they go in and they don't run the ball. Their offense can't click. And they keep giving the ball away. Credit to Toronto defense. They knew how to shut it down. But yeah, the
You know
play,
what, Roland? I think it's the locker room at BC, the home locker room at BC Place. Something happens to these coaches. They don't want to run the ball, and then they just throw it deep all the time.
So
They
anyway,
throw interceptions.
so that was my initial
Okay.
that was my initial reaction. And then after I calmed down a bit, okay, let's not judge Buck Pierce on one game, or maybe three Grey Cup games. Okay, let's not
body
judge him on
work.
that.
Body work.
Three K-Cup game.
let's judge him on his entire.
There's a subliminal.
Wait a minute.
trash
That
talking
first
going
one
on
is
here.
that first one was a kicking. I mean, that was a last minute
Okay,
kicking.
okay,
thing.
sure.
I mean, that's
Okay. So I won't go that far back. But so if we don't judge him based on just that one game, let's look at his entire work. He's actually pretty good. Like Winnipeg has consistently been dominant. He has the toughness that we wanted, right? As a quarterback, he was the toughest quarterback
Oh,
ever.
he was tough.
Blood and guts, baby. Blood and guts.
I would put him, side by side against Strevler. Like, he was tough, right? And then as an offensive coordinator, he knew how to have a balanced attack. Whether it was with Harris or with Oliveira, it was balanced. I don't know why he went away from that in the Grey Cup, but it was balanced, and that's what we needed. So
And he lost Harris in retirement, and he continued it on with Oliveira.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, everybody's like, "Wow, Canadian running back and another Canadian running back, and look at how good they did."
yeah,
Or well, they did. Sorry.
exactly. So if we what I was telling you earlier, Arthur, I think hopefully Buck Pierce will learn from his mistakes on the Grey Cup this past weekend, and there's a possibility that he was overruled by O'Shea as well. There's a possibility that wasn't the game that he wanted to call, but maybe O'Shea said, "This is how I want you to call it."
Who makes the call when Zach is injured and not 100%? But between those two guys, O'Shea and Buck Pierce, who makes the call? Which quarterback's in the game?
It was O'Shea who called it.
Got to be O'Shea.
Yeah, and he said that in his interview. He made the call. O'Shea made that call. So I'm willing to say, okay, let's, this is a one-off, but his entire work speaks a lot. So I would be very happy to have Buck Pierce as our head coach.
All right, a ringing, I guess an endorsement. Maybe
Yes.
not ringing, but an endorsement.
Yes, an endorsement.
Gregory, you're next.
Churchill, Manitoba was where I had my Buck Pierce epiphany. I've gone from nope on McSimic, Buck Pierce, not sure. I'm going to lean more to it'd be okay, but again, this is a critical decision for this team and to move forward and be perennial contenders. Buck Pierce, I was talking to some guys in some of those forums. Buck Pierce, blood and guts on the field. He was tougher than you could imagine, but I don't know how much of a presence he had in a huddle. Because again, when you see him in any interview as a player, again, different positions and postures you have in front of the mic, but he seems like an aw shucks kind of guy. I don't know if he has that room command, because I'm not sure if he had huddle command, never mind a room command. Huddle, you gotta have the command of those 11 other guys. A room is the whole team. And I don't know if Buck, because if it depends on the players you keep here too, right? I don't know if Buck and whatever coordinators he brings in or whatever coordinators he's given, because again, he's an OC being promoted, is he going to have his guys as coordinators? I'm not sure. I'm 50-50 on him, but I don't know if he can change the culture to the toughness that we need here. He might be able to keep the guys accountable based on the way Winnipeg's offense is, but I don't know if he can be tough, like make that tough call as a head coach and say my way or the highway. So I'm 50-50 on Buck.
All right. I mean, I was Roland and I were together watching the last few minutes of the Grey Cup. Of course, I was very happy because
I was ecstatic.
I didn't want Winnipeg to win.
But you
again, I wasn't
really.
really cheering for Toronto either. But I didn't want Winnipeg to win, so that kind of. But then you'd see Buck Pierce on the sidelines. Usually he's up there, but he was down on the sideline. He looked really upset, really mad. Like I think he could have gone on the field and probably did better. Like he was like ready to run over someone.
Strap the pads on, man.
Like it's a little, and I mean that's just a physical appearance, right? I mean we just get a snapshot of wherever the TV pans to the coach, right? Sometimes we'll see Campbell. He has that confused look.
That's the one. Attaboy.
Right? Is it a confused look or it's just Yeah.
unsure look. To me, he looked unsure.
Buck was like ready to like go through some defensive linemen and take on some middle linebackers. Like that's what his look, and that's what I want. So let's read the comment from Q-Man. Buck, head coach and OC, with Richie Hall as DC. Q-Man, are you secretly like a Blue Bombers fan, like Greg? Or Jordan Missimic as head coach and OC with RP as DC. That's the choice. Oh boy!
Is that the choice Cuman's given us?
That's the choice Cuman is giving me. If that's my choice,
I like Cuman on this broadcast, man. Cuman, what are you doing?
I mean, I go with the Winnipeg guys.
Again, just you know, like Arthur said, for the and Roland said, like, change of scenery might do them well. Again, having Buck come here with, I don't think you're going to get Jordan Younger out of there, but Richie Hall, I wouldn't want Richie Hall. He's the game has passed his style by. Again, I don't. But again, Buck, I'm if he comes, I'm okay with it. But I don't know if that's going to be the new start like that we're needing to propel this team to the level Doman deserves it to be at.
I think we need a fresh start. I think you guys mentioned it. I think we need a fresh start. We need the culture change.
Yeah.
We don't want to be a finesse team anymore, and that's not what Rig Maiden wants anyways.
Yeah.
So I think we need a fresh start, and consumer confidence maybe took a little bit of a hit. We didn't win many statement games at home.
Yeah.
Nope.
Right? So, and it's been a while since they won a big game at home against a really good team.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big win at the end of the year against Montreal wasn't a big win, but again, it was a doesn't matter game, right?
Yeah, yeah. So like they need it's been a while. I mean, early part of this year, the semifinals against Calgary. Do they really count those semifinals against Calgary? I guess they're they're playoff games. I mean, you saw that we were in the crowd, and it was electric.
That Calgary had last year. I mean, that big. I mean, you know, we didn't buckle. We didn't fold the tent. That's immediate adversity right there at home in front of your crowd. You give up that bomb on your defense. Wow, right? But they took it back. But
all right.
Yeah. Who's the next? Who's the next contestant?
So
Civic Pierce. Who's next?
I think Killam from Calgary. He's the special teams coordinator and the assistant head coach. That he was let go by Dickinson. And he's been rumored. He's been interviewed for like head coaching positions around the league prior to this. So I think he would bring in a fresh start.
Is he an offensive mind or a defensive mind? What is
only
he?
Ever been a special teams guy?
Just special teams all the way through?
Yeah, but he's more of a tougher guy. Like he would probably fit the toughness quotient.
Okay.
Well, you know, Calgary special teams have always been decent. Like their return game and their covering it, they've always been decent
and well coached. Good fundamentals.
Yeah. You don't see Calgary giving up a big return that often. Again, over Killam's whole body of work. Like it's been, he's been there a while.
Is it not normal to have a special teams guy go and be the head coach?
I think it's just the way he was the most senior of the coordinators.
Yeah.
And then maybe the one that they thought would take. He was the heir apparent to Dickinson.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Kilman chimes in already. Killam just fired. Who is his OCDC? Not credible.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I'll let. I mean, whoever Arthur wants to go with Killam, I'll let it's Arthur's thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard because in the end you'd have to bring in OC, and then it's going to be musical chairs, right? So any OC that doesn't get a head coaching position, they'll just stay with their team.
Yeah. Will they want to, report to, Killam?
Yeah.
Right. If he has no credibility.
Unless Killam says, okay, I'll make you the OC and this assistant head coach. So it's kind of a bump. Maybe they have to pay him a little bit more money.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're going to get an OC to come over on a quote-unquote lateral move.
Yeah.
Under someone who's just as lateral, if not viewed below. I mean, do people view a special teams coordinator below an offensive coordinator?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's going to, you're not going to be picking the best OC. You're going to be picking an OC that maybe wants a change, and you probably get a second tier OC.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's probably not the greatest thing. That's why I'm always thinking Buck Pierce is the leading contender, unless they just promote from within, which would be a terrible move. And I don't think
Yeah.
Rick Bannon will do. I think Rick Bannon will dip into his Winnipeg roots, and I think he's gonna bring in Buck Pierce. Now, unless there's just someone else that just wows him in an interview. Like, we can go through the other guys. Like, RP's on the list. He's on the team. He's our current assistant head coach. Mark Washington's out there. Mark Mueller, which is the Saskatchewan OC, another another candidate.
Yeah.
These are all guys out
Possible
there.
candidates. Yeah.
I mean, maybe I haven't heard that they're gonna. They asked permission for Noel Thorpe, who's the former head coach in Montreal.
Yeah.
He came to DC under, Jason Moss. So I haven't heard if they asked permission on him.
Yeah. Would
So
he be a
there's-
good DC for us?
Yeah. The question is, would he come over?
Would he want to move? He's a Vancouver guy, I read.
Yeah. Well, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So potentially then, right? If
Yeah. Potentially.
Again, and if I could just chime in about the OC, any OC that's been, in the league for a while, and like I said, is he going to come over underneath a lesser, somebody who's already the same level as him, and I mean they're going to
Yeah.
be coming over jaded. Like, well, I didn't
That's
get a
right.
head coach spot, and I got to answer to this guy who got a head coach interview over me. You know what I mean? You got to look at chemistry between a coach and the OCs too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. House for Life says, although I'm not a fan of keeping our GM, we got to trust he makes the right pick. Is all we can do.
That's all we can do. Yep.
Yeah.
Because that's like I said, that's the decision. That's the most definite decision made at this point. So hopefully Ring Maiden is accountable to himself. Right?
Well,
with what he said.
yeah. All we can go on is what he said that he's looking for, which is toughness, both physically and mentally, right? So,
I think that's Buck Pierce right there.
yeah. No, Q-Man says Noel Thorpe. Who is his OC? That's the issue.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
the issue.
If we were, I don't know if I want to bring Noel Thorpe in as a head coach, but I'm wondering if we can bring him in as an
As a
OC
DC. Yeah,
or
as a
DC.
DC.
Sorry, yeah, DC.
Have we looked at any of the other candidates out there? Like say at the C Sport level.
I don't know enough
I
about.
just don't know enough about that. I haven't heard.
Yeah.
I think
Paul-
they're going to do. I mean, I think we're going to know within a week or two. Maybe we'll get some tidbits. They might hire someone really
Well,
well.
you're more the NFL guy than I am, Arthur, and
Okay.
I think we've established that over the life of this podcast. You're going to go pick an NCAA coach, like say when they brought Nick Saban up as from the head coaching.
I'm a Seahawks fan. Let's say Pete Carroll.
Okay,
They brought
so-
Pete Carroll in,
from USC,
a very
okay?
tenured college coach.
Yeah.
They brought him in.
Right,
Yeah.
but before he got his USC success,
Yeah.
he was a head coach in New England, I believe, and
Yeah,
he didn't do
yeah.
very well.
Didn't-
I think
yeah.
he was a head coach a couple teams, didn't do well, goes back down, polishes his game as the USC guy. Now he comes into the Seahawks. If you bring an NCAA coach in, would you bring him in as a coordinator first and then have him earn his way up to a head coach, or does he go from a head coach at the NCAA to head coach at the NFL level, right? Would you bring him in as an OC? So maybe you find an OC at our
Maybe.
Canadian university level, like some of these super successful coaches like Blake Nill, going back to Jay Prepchuk or whatever, bringing a head coach in, look at Laval. They're always winning that Vanier Cup. Do you bring their head coach in as a coordinator, or do you give them a shot? Again, I don't think we should go with a rookie head coach at this juncture because we
No, I
need,
agree
we
with
need
you.
to hit
I
the
agree
ground
with you.
running. But maybe you bring them in as a coordinator.
Potentially.
Yeah.
And, yeah. Well, let's just address key man. I mean, I agree with you. Lack of OCs drive this. And then, that's what we mentioned off the top, right?
Yeah.
There's a lack of really good OCs, right?
There's
Love him
one-
or hate him, McKismick can, if the O-line hangs in and the QB's playing well, his scheme can work. But you need those things in play.
Then maybe
When
that's
those-
a coach that should have been let go there too. As much as I loved him as a player, maybe it's the OC coach, his scheme, right?
Yeah. So I think that will. I agree. That will drive. So the Lions will probably pick. It's between Buck Pierce and McKismick, as the next head coach.
Oh,
I mean, that's what it's gonna be.
If it's
And then
between those two, I'd rather it be Buck Pierce.
yeah, because McSimic, again, like I said, McSimic has done everything he can here, and I really, because I mean, maybe I'm hoping Rick Maiden cleans house O-line wise, and dare I say, I think Kelly Bates has done. You know, when our O-line was under Brian Chu, you know, great O-lineman. Now I think he's coaching over at Van College, but when they fired him and brought Kelly Bates in, yes, the O-line had that. I guess it's that any professional team, when you get the new coach, you have that little spike, but then they plateaued, and then again, how many of our listeners, how many of our subscribers, whatever followers, how many people in all those forums on social media, the O-line is the weak link of this team,
It
right?
is,
Yeah. There's two more coaches we haven't talked about.
All right.
There's-
bring 'em up.
Who's available? Paul
right.
LaFelice is
He's an
probably-
OC. He's an OC.
Yeah.
former
So
OC and head
possible.
coach.
And another one who was mentioned last week by one of our viewers, Mr. Farhan Lalji.
When we're talking about college, the college to the pro ranks, and
Yes.
I love Farham. I mean, we're going from high school. I mean,
Yes.
that's a big
High school from media to
Yeah.
Well, I mean, high school. Let's say high school at a top level high school.
Yes.
NBC.
So definitely Paul Lapo would have a better chance. Kuman
again,
says,
look at Lapo's record as a head coach.
yeah. Kuman says, if it's Buck Pierce, JM joins Campbell and probably VA in Edmonton. Yeah,
Possible.
that's what I'm feeling too.
And then you watch
Yeah.
Jordan McSimic's offense becomes unbeatable. VA is the MVP of the
Oh, you
Campbell's
know,
coach of the
if
year.
if these two coaches go and VA goes there, oh man, it's gonna be heart
Well, those
wrenching.
games will be.
It's gonna be so
fireworks, man.
heart-wrenching.
I love it. I'd love to see those games.
Okay, there's one more point I want to make. So, Mark Mueller-Skass. I mean, I just don't know enough about him. I love the Saskatchewan receivers and their scheme of, they're getting
And
a lot
their
of yak
toughness.
yards,
They're
and then
tough.
the receivers can block. I just don't know if Mueller's scheme's going to work with the Lions. The current Lions makeup of the team. No, of course they're going to change things. So
And can he change the culture?
yeah, but he's not moving over here on a lateral move unless he gets a promotion, at least a name promotion, at least to assistant head coach. So I don't know if he would do that. And he just got there with Mace, so it would be hard.
No,
for
and I
him
think
to
they're
come
going to
over.
want to continue to build something. But
Oh, yeah.
again, I don't think. Again, we've had the co-GMs here, doesn't work. We've had head coach / GM here, doesn't work. You need a head coach. Again, at this crossroads, in my opinion, we need a head coach that is just head coach. No assistant head coach, no head coach GM, just a head coach that can concentrate on determining and dictating the culture of this team and the record of this team and guiding this team. That's it.
All right.
Head coach needs to be just that here as a head coach.
All right. I like that, Greg. One last question.
All right.
Near the end of the press conference, Rick Maiden was asked, "Oh, what about Vernon Adams Jr.? What are you going to do?" So Rick Maiden replied saying, "We're going to start calling
Tonight.
Yeah, and then we're gonna do the best for the BC Lions." And the follow-up question is, will VA have a say? And Rick Maiden says no. So
Yeah, I don't understand why he would make that call.
Well,
I understand,
'Cause-
but all
I
right,
understand
Greg,
completely.
go.
what's your question?
Reaction. I
Why
guess.
would he say that? And
okay.
Roland goes, why would he say that?
Okay. Ring Maiden, again, where he came from to where he's been promoted to. He is a GM with no ties, no promises, no nothing. He owes nothing to nobody, if I can
Yeah.
use that cliche.
Yeah.
He is the new GM. He is now needing to put his stamp on this team.
Yeah.
And he owes, and, as much as I love VA, VA is a great man. He is a great player. Yeah, he's a great player. Ring Maiden owes him nothing, right? Everybody can say, "Oh, why are the Lions doing VA dirty?" Well, maybe in optics of it, they are. But Ring Maiden, in a football business, whatever it is, Ring Maiden owes VA nothing. He needs to get, if he's intending to trade VA, He needs to trade VA where he wants to trade VA to get the best value back, best return back for VA, if that's what Ring Main is going to do. He owes VA nothing, and that's why he said what he said. He needs to get everything he can for VA, and if that means sending him to the farthest Eastern team, which I guess geographically is at
non-Montreal would be Hamilton.
Right, yeah, because again, as far as if he trades VA as far away from home as possible, because he can get an impact linebacker, a great offensive lineman, and whatever we need on this team, then so be it, right? VA, and if VA doesn't like where he's going, that's the business of this sport, and VA will make the best of it. He will, he'll have a smile on his face. He will thank the day, and he will thank the Lord, because that's the quality man VA is. That's my answer. He doesn't owe VA anything.
We're all in. I think I know where you're going to go with this.
Yeah, I will. But
how fair is Rick? Well, you want to talk about Cumans?
Yeah, Cuman says disaster. Claire Brooks disaster.
Yeah, well, that was a disaster. It was he was a DC from Calgary, came over here and
the defense Wally could never beat, and then he comes over here.
Yeah.
But again, he was too much of a player's coach.
Yeah, it was.
He was too much of an RP kind of. Maybe he had the right scheme for the players he had, but as far as locker room presence, he didn't. He was too much of a peer versus a superior.
Yeah.
All right, Roland.
So
is that fair to VA?
So I hear exactly what you're saying, Greg. It is a business, and of course, you need to do what's best for the business. But come on, VA. Not even going to talk to VA.
Well, VA won't have a say on where he goes.
But
he will be kept in the loop, he said.
Yeah, but I think VA has shown, his loyalty to the team. Mm-hmm. I think Rig Maiden can still achieve the same end result, but do it in a more respectable manner, right? Talk to VA. Okay, what options? What are your options in terms of your priority? Okay, understood. I'll take that as input. These are my priorities. We'll see if we can make them fit. And if at the end of the day it doesn't fit, then I'll make the final call, right? That's a very respectful way of doing it. But the way he worded this in the press release makes me think, you've already dissed this guy the whole season, and you're gonna kick him one more kick before he goes out the door. Man, that's just disrespectful.
Well, maybe that was just media optics, because again, he's promoting toughness. Does VA have a say? No, that's the toughness. Maybe maybe he had the conversation. With
maybe
that's true.
Again, behind closed doors, VA, we're going to do what we can again. But again, I'm the new GM. I got to do what's best. And I know VA is a big enough man to understand. But again, maybe that's just the optics on the press conference.
Maybe I hope so. Yeah.
I hope so too. But again, it is to answer Arthur's question. He doesn't. Again, he doesn't know anything. But
I agree with you, Greg. He doesn't. Again, whoever made that deal, McAvoy or Campbell, they're not there. So Rig Maiden, the buck stops with him, and I didn't make that promise, so I'm not gonna make hell to that promise, right? But how I'm looking at it is Rig Maiden is just setting the market. If it's what do we want him to say? Yeah, well, VA has a say. Then Rig Maiden's not in really control of the negotiation. Exactly. Right. So Rig Maiden's just gonna say it. So people are going to say, oh, well, I'm just going to appeal to VA. If it's Calgary goes, okay, well, we're the closest team to your home. We got to be number one on your list. We'll just got to go VA, and we just have to sell VA on this. And once we sell VA on it, he'll want to come here. Then I don't have to bid as much.
Yeah, and I'll just give him some draft picks. Yep, exactly.
I don't have to give you my best offer. I don't know, right? I don't know. Yeah. I'm not in that room. Yeah, I'm just thinking. I think that's what he had to say.
Well, he could have said, "I make the final choice," right? So,
that's not toughness.
But I make the final choice. I'll hear what VA has to say, but I'll make the final choice.
He did say VA is going to be kept in the loop, and he'll be regularly consulted, but he doesn't get a say. He won't get a say means VA doesn't say I want to go to Calgary. Okay, fine, I'm going to trade it.
No, and I think also VA doesn't get a say. I don't want to go here. I think is more the thing. Right?
Yeah.
It's easier to trade a player where he wants to go than to try to trade a player. And so, again, the question was, does VA get a say? No. Answering the question, does VA get a say? Well, we'll talk to him. No, no, no. You just answer the question to the reporter. No.
I mean, it's really going to be, honestly, one of 4 teams. It's going to be Edmonton, less
Calgary.
likely, Calgary, Hamilton.
Depends on
And
what the decision is with Bo Levi, right?
Yeah, I mean, if
What
they get a
about Ottawa?
chance, yeah.
What about Ottawa?
Drew Brown. Drew Brown had a fairly good year, and he's still young.
Yeah.
And Winnipeg missed him, because if Drew Brown was the backup quarterback for the Bombers, I don't think they had to rush Zach into throwing
If
those
Strebler
lame
was
ducks.
the backup, I still think they would have lost that great.
Yeah, exactly, because he can't throw.
Yeah.
But I think the dark horse is Toronto, because the player who shall not be named is going to be injured for a while.
Well,
Following our CFF friends, the player that shall not be named.
they may walk away from him now that he's injured. Maybe they just walk away from him, right?
I don't know.
Get
The
rid of
way-
I
him.
think
the
they
way
want
the
to
head
win.
coach-
I think they want to win.
Yeah,
they
but
wanna
again,
win.
if you've got a chance at VA, would you take VA over the player who shall not be named?
Well, I mean, I wouldn't. Okay, if I were Pinball, I would not have executed this year like they did. Now they won the Grey Cup, so they get rewarded for being. I don't like the way they handled this.
Yeah.
You know, they supported that player who should not be named.
Yeah.
And they kind of threw that whatever therapist or like the trainer,
physio guy under the
physiotherapist
bus.
under the bus, and then yeah, that was pretty. I'm surprised MLSE let them do it, but I guess maybe they don't. No one really cares about the Argos in Toronto anyway,
Yeah.
so
Maybe MLS he
they're
dictated
like,
that they do it.
we
too.
we own the Argos. Like, well, who cares, right? Like,
What's this other portfolio under it? Yeah.
yeah, like what
Raptors,
percent?
Leafs,
What
and
percent?
what's
What percent of revenue is for MLSE? Okay, well, we don't care. But
Yeah,
that's
they've won 2 championships in the last 3 years, and they're the afterthought. Amazing, eh?
Well, they should have won 3-3. The way, I mean, they did like that whole. I think that whole Sandals killed his performance in the Eastern Final, right? And that's why they lost. That was like terrible performance.
Yeah.
But
Anyway,
Karma's a bit.
it's 9:47. Let's. we
last
probably
thoughts. Last thoughts. All right, Greg. Last thoughts. We're gonna wrap up, but last thoughts for you, Greg. You've been kind of a little away, and you came in for some of our live streams. So
Yeah,
after
that's hard
all
doing
this-
at 9. Though that's a time difference that would wouldn't
Yeah.
have missed it. But final thoughts. I'm going to go back to what I opened the show with. This is a crossroads for this organization, and the head coach decision is critical. It is the most important decision this organization is going to make and has made in the last few decades.
Oh my
Again,
goodness.
no, I'm going to go back. Like when they brought in Don Matthews as a head coach, that was immediate credibility, immediate success. They were in the Grey Cup the year they built that dome that's behind me here. Okay, they lost, but I'm not going into that why, because I have my opinions on that. But the minute they went away from Don Matthews as that coach and brought in a different GM, this organization went the wrong way. So that's why I am saying at this crossroads, this juncture, it is critical who the head coach is that they bring in here. They got to staff it right. They got to, from the coaching ranks down, got to be staffed right. And the players on the field have to be staffed right. This team needs to go 3-4 levels higher than it is right now because Doman deserves it.
So just a really quick question to you, because I know we're really running short on time. Were you worried Edmonton was circling around with Ed Hervey as the new GM? Were you worried Mr. 81 was going to come back to the Lions organization? Or you're out in your cruise, you weren't thinking about G. Simon at all?
Oh no, I met a fellow from Toronto who said, "Wow, who won the Grey Cup?" He wanted to ask me because he saw me doing the live cast on the deck there, but he's like, "Oh, does that mean what G-Roy coming back to you guys?" And I'm like, "No." I mean, I'm even affirmative. Was I worried? The question was I worried? No, I wasn't worried. That's the wrong word. Was I disgusted about even the thought of it? I would say disgusted. I don't want 81 ever back here for any football operation whatsoever.
Oh boy.
Period.
Greg.
Sorry.
Salty, spicy Greg tonight. All right,
Yeah, I'll
Roland,
put it
last
right
thoughts.
up there with O'Shea as a coach.
All right, last thoughts. I agree. It's a critical juncture. We faltered this year. We moved back. We were moving in the right direction the previous year, so we need to regain that and move up. We were Grey Cup contenders at the beginning of the year, so this is a very critical move. Among all the choices that we've talked about, it seems to me that Buck Pierce would be the best option. I sincerely hope that what Rig Maiden says is what he will do in terms of how he wants, what his vision for what the team is moving forward. Because we've heard other coaches within this organization say one thing, but then we don't see the results, right? So that's what. And last thought, I sincerely hope that the organization, after screwing VA seriously this year, that they would do what's right for him.
Right by him.
Right by him. I mean, yes, we got to get the best out of him in this trade, but I think, let's not screw him again one last time before we go. Okay.
Would you trade if Zach Collaros retires? Would you trade him to Winnipeg?
Depends what's coming back.
Well, no, I mean,
yeah, that's right.
He
Depends
wants to go
back.
there. He wants to go there. Winnipeg's not giving us much.
Well, if we don't give us much,
he wants to go there.
Yeah, but
Then I'm going back on Ring Maiden's word. No.
Well, no, I'm asking Roland.
Yeah.
I'm asking Roland. If VA wants to go to Winnipeg,
depends what the deal is, right?
Well,
so if we get some good O-line, if we get
no, it won't be that. I mean, what? Okay, I'll give you this.
Yeah, then
you know me. I like hypotheticals.
Yeah.
Calgary gives us the best package, and Winnipeg gives us half that package.
Well, then that's
But VA says, I want to go to Winnipeg.
Well, that's hypothetical. He lives in Washington State.
He does, but
Calgary's a lot closer.
He wants the team that
he wants to win a Grey Cup.
Winning, that's Winnipeg.
It's a Grey Cup at home in Winnipeg, and Winnipeg's much closer to winning.
Yes, than Calgary.
Calgary.
Yes. So in that case, I'm gonna push Winnipeg. Hey, you want this guy? You gotta sweeten the deal.
They say, hey, but you said you're gonna. VA has to say it, and this is it. It's gonna be O'Shea and Miller. They're not gonna.
Well,
then the answer is no.
VA has a say, but it doesn't mean you have to listen. He can have.
He has a say.
He can have the say he wants, but again, you don't have to listen to his say.
all right.
Yeah.
so still, Roland is BC Lions first, as long as it's close.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can do both, right? We can do what's best for the team, and then do and treat VA fairly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why Roland's a nicer guy than either of us.
And my final thought is I agree a lot with Roland. I think pretty much everything. Yeah, definitely. I like what's I'm hearing from Ryan McRaden regarding toughness. We need to deal with adversity much better. We have to have the toughness. Question is, can you do it? Can you remake this roster? Can you find the coaches that will coach and have that attitude in the locker room and on the field? Can you make changes to our personnel that will execute this scheme and this attitude? So there's going to have to be, in my opinion, quite a bit of changes personnel-wise and in coaching ranks for this to happen, because the Canucks, the Lions are a bit. What does Rick Tocchet say? A little shy at times.
That's a good word for it. Shy.
A little shy at times.
In the corners.
They don't want to say soft. There's other words to say soft. So I think that I'm sure they try hard, but you see teams like Toronto and Winnipeg have success in the playoffs because of what? Because they play bully ball, and that's what the Lions need to get into here. And I think that's it. Roland.
All right. All right. Well, thanks, guys. It was great bantering with you, and thanks for the ones online. I'm glad to have been able to chat with you. If you're catching us after the live stream, post your comments. I would love to hear from you too. Otherwise, yeah, catch us next time. I'm not sure what we're going to be talking about. It depends on what news comes out. But if there's no news this week, then we'll start diving deep into what happened this season and where we want to really see changes on a team by different teams' perspective, like within the Lions. So defense, backfield, things like that. All right, take care, everyone. Have a great evening. Okay, good night.
Good night.
Good night. Go Seahawks.